welcome to the Live Loving live stream with Jhon Davis. Well, hello and welcome, my friends, to another Live Loving live stream. I'm in deep voice tonight, if you can't tell. I hope you guys are doing well. Hello, Artie. I see you just jumped in there. I'm having a great week. As you can see, the studio looks a little different. I've been rebuilding the thing. I actually talking to you from a new camera, which is kind of nice. I'm upgrading a bunch of stuff, which, by the way, any of you who are starting a YouTube channel, I will be selling off some equipment real soon, and I'm going to offer it out to you guys before I put it out on a Facebook Marketplace or anything like that. So I got some couple of good cameras, which have made wonderful videos for me for a couple of years now, and lighting and everything else. I've got several things that are going to be ready to go on to the next person who wants to do a YouTube. Let me just hello, Omar. How are you? And anyway, so it's been an amazing week. A lot of things are going crazy in the world, but a lot of things are going well in the world. And I think that if we can just take the time to really pay attention to the good stuff and give focus to the good stuff and give energy to the good stuff. And as Mother Teresa said, don't go to the anti-war rally, go to the peace rally. And so focusing on our peace and unity in this country and in the world, and I think the more we can stay focused on love, as my good friend Marcy says all the time, and I think it's true. I think we need to create a loving world and live into a loving world, and we do that one person at a time. Each one of us makes a conscious choice to choose to be loving, and choose to be an action hero, not a reaction zero. When someone's not being loving, when someone's being fearful, when someone's calling you terrible names, understand that's their fear and not your own. I just had someone yesterday call me an lying, evil reprobate who's going to burn in hell. Now, when I hear that, I say I feel so bad for him. There's a statement in the book of Matthew that says it's talking about false prophets, but it says you'll know them by their fruit. You'll know them by their fruit. If someone's being hateful, harmful, negative, slamming you with things, hitting you with judgment and all that, that's their fruit. That is their fruit. They are in a horrible, hateful place, and so that is their fruit. They're claiming to be of a loving follower of Jesus, but in reality, they're not living what he taught in any way, shape, or form. So you will know them by their fruit. But the key is when they come at you with that hate, that vitriol, that anger, just recognize it as their own personal fears and don't feed it by actually responding to it or tell them I respect your beliefs and just move on, because it's just going to create more struggle in the world if you try to defend yourself, because the defense itself is actually a reactive response. It's a fear response. I don't need to defend myself against those horrible things said to me, because of the fact that I'm very confident in my faith and what I do. And if you stay confident and true to who you are, you'll always be an action hero and not a reaction zero. Anyway, I just wanted to have that little conversation and get that out there. So let me jump over and see who's popped in since I was blabbing. Jump over here. Oh, Maria, I'm so glad your father peacefully transitioned. That's so beautiful and surrounded by so much love. That's so beautiful. We have to remember in those times like that we're the ones who are away. They just went back home, and they are more aware of us and our experiences than we are of them being away. My mom, my crazy mom back there, and when you see the green light back there, that's her. That's because she gave me the green light to be spiritual. When my mom crossed over, she came back several times through a medium, And she always had something to say about what was going on in our lives right then and there. And not only that, what we were thinking in those then and there. So the ones who go across, they have their awareness broadened. They go back into the oneness of God and that connection with the oneness of God. And they have, they get to feel that pure love all the time. And down here in the physical world, where we live in the valley of the shadow of death, right down here where we can think we can die, that's where the harder struggle really can be. But if you choose to make it a beautiful journey, then it'll be a beautiful journey. And so I love the fact that you were there and you showed him so much love as he peacefully transitioned. Thank you for sharing. Artie Love, how are you, Artie? Hello from everyone from planet Earth and parts unknown. Well, I love that, Omar. Laura, well, hello, and with your black kitty. Tammy Jean, hello. Maxine, how are you? Google Whiz, welcome back. Yeah, Maxine, I saw the K. I just didn't want to say anything about it. Well, thank you for the blue. I'm wearing something different, normally not in black or one of those. I'm liking the blue, actually. It also goes well with gray. Well, I'm glad things are looking hopeful, Elena. You can create anything in your life. Bright Love, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Oh, thank you, Roseanne, and good evening to you as well. I'm trying to get down to the bottom, so I'm going to try to stay up on this as much as I can tonight. Well, this is a great question. What was the apostles' real names? It's very funny because when I had my first regression, I couldn't understand what my father was saying to me in the regression. My father, Zebedee. And the regressionist used this technique to basically pretend there was a funnel or something to my ear and see if that helped, and it translated the language. But the one thing I do remember is the one pronunciation of John's name. Joshua called him Hannah, and Yohannes is the original pronunciation, but he called him Hannah, with a phlegmy H in the beginning. Many years later, I was in. I grew up in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, which is a very big Greek community, and my friend Yorgo would call me Hannah, and I didn't realize that until much later. It was very, very interesting because Hannah is very much a Greek pronunciation too. So, but yeah, other than that, I don't really have a lot of the other names that way. Sarah, hello. This is an interesting one. Do they intervene in earthly affairs? In reality, I personally don't think it would be loving for them to intervene. I think we're here to learn and experience and have those experiences. And to intervene would be to negate an experience or change an experience. Now, there are times, I think, when we're creating that certain things happen that come from, help from the beyond, but I don't think it's because of their intention to do so more than our belief of the things we're creating in our world. And so we believe we have certain things we're doing, and so certain things will happen to make that happen. So I really do think it's more so our creation than their intervention. I hope that answers that question. Oh, Jeannie, thank you so much. This is one of the things I love to hear when someone feels like they've found peace or they've come there and they've been able to exhale because of what I do. That to me is probably the greatest gift I can get, is to see someone who's coming to a place where they can literally feel safe and feel like they can be themselves fully and just exhale. And that's really, to me, the most important thing. So thank you for saying it. I appreciate that. Oh, let me jump down. Oh, hang on. Before we go, there was one. I'm going to zip all the way back up to the top somewhere. Somebody had put up a question. Here it is. James Prentice. I want to make sure I don't miss this. Did God create us, or did we slowly evolve from the source? I'm not vain enough to say I know, but I will say we have all kinds of theories about how the universe and how God began and how we all created. But I think that's the very nature of man, to try to figure that out. And religions will tell you lots of different things. Science will tell you lots of different things. But the reality of it changes. It moves. So I don't think anyone really knows. Even right now, for decades and decades, they've been saying the Big Bang Theory is how the universe started, and then they shot the James Webb out into space, and James Webb started documenting galaxies that are older than the theory would allow. So it's proving that even the Big Bang Theory is wrong. So I think the mind of man will always try to figure out the origins, but I don't have a memory of it, and I don't know anybody who was there to write it down. I will say, I personally believe we are part of a greater consciousness, and that the physical world is simply an illusion of our own beliefs. And that has proven very true to me many, many times over. So the question comes is not where does this creative world come from? I think that comes from belief. The big question is, where did that consciousness begin? And that I have no idea. And so I really can't give any answer to that, because nobody can answer that in my mind. There's only one thing that could answer that question. It's the one thing that we're all trying to figure out. What is the greater consciousness? So to me, I don't want to put myself in a position of claiming something that I don't have an idea on, or a belief on, or my own personal experience on. So that's my thought on that. Let me jump back over here. Oh, jump in. Everyone want to say it with me. So Ali says, "Hi Jhon. Earlier today, I was a reaction zero. This person with whom I had this interaction was equally a reaction zero. May I have raised my vibe above this now? What advice would you give to me now?" Everyone say it together. Exhale. Right. The reaction is a reaction to fear. It's a reaction of being disrespected. It's a reaction to being not loved in some form. It's a reaction to being just not loved. Period. And so it's a reaction to fear. And so the first thing you do is to release your fears and anxieties. And the only way you release your fears and anxieties is to allow your body to release your fears and anxieties. And you do that by simply exhaling and relaxing all your muscles. Your body tenses when you have fear response. Your body sucks air in. The reason your body's tense when it has a fear response is because your body's holding air in. Exhale, let the air out. Get very relaxed. Let it go and say, that's theirs, not mine. That's theirs, not mine. And the more you can say that's theirs, not mine, the faster it leaves your entire feeling. Also remember this. Put a period at that. Say, okay, that's done. I am here now. And literally grab your present moment back to being an action hero. And you got this. And by the way, Ali, we all have that moment. We all have that moment. I still have those moments. We all have those moments, right? But I'm better at it now because I've been practicing it. But I really do. I simply just exhale during those moments. And after those moments, if I'm hanging on to something, I'm like, okay, that is done. And I move on. I hope that helps, Ali. JC, hello, hello, hello. So Elena, my question would be: was your mom a gardener on this side? Because if did she love to have those tending beautiful gardens and flowers and plants, right? And because we go to the other side, we experience our 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 paradise, and we go back to that place of love, and that's probably during the transition of it, probably her experiencing all those things that she loved, experiencing that. So hang on, let me hang up that phone that's ringing. Sorry about that. I hope that answers the question. But yeah, so I absolutely believe that she was your mom is probably in the most happy, joyful place she's ever been in her life, her eternal life. Hi, Susan. How are you? Yeah, John of Old, John of New is a very, very interesting book. I'm writing my own version so you guys can hear my story. I get a lot of people who tell me that Sharon put a little bit too much of Sharon in it, but I think she was well intentioned. Um, I don't I don't necessarily promote that book too much because of the fact of some something between Sharon and I. Um, but there's some interesting things in there, though. There's definitely some interesting things. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Susan. See, now this is an interesting conundrum because if they are a believer of the Bible, they don't believe in past lives because Christianity doesn't lean into past lives or any of those things, reincarnation at all, even though it's in the Bible. You know, and Joshua says, "Who do they say that I am?" And the apostles say, "Some say you're Elijah or some other prophet returned." He says, "No, I tell you, he has come already, and you have shunned him," referring to John the Baptist. So John the Baptist was able to return. I mean, Elijah was able to return to be John the Baptist. And the apostles believed that Elijah could return or some other prophet could return and be Jesus of Nazareth. So it's there, but a true follower of the Bible would not in any way, shape, or form be interested. And I'm a big fan of Dan McClellan. And I love his work. He's a very he's one of those really ethical Bible scholars to me. When things don't seem to ring true to what his Mormon faith, he'll say it anyway because that's the scholarly way to do it, is to be straightforward. I have asked several questions on his channel about reincarnation. He has never answered one, so I'm not sure where he stands on that. Yeah, it would be interesting, but the problem is that with most, with all regressions, you're still dealing with the consciousness of the person. You're dealing with the consciousness of the regressionist. You're dealing with the thing is, I often say to people, I say, you don't move forward if you're always looking back, and it doesn't really matter who anybody was in a past life, and that the history and all that stuff back there, people get so stuck on the meanings of those things and all, but it's like when you read Shakespeare. There's so many things in Shakespeare that we do not understand nowadays. And there's some things in there that I understand because of my studies of Elizabethan sword manuals. There's references to that. So I can find things that other people won't understand. And I find things in there that I completely don't understand. Like I directed Taming of the Shrew a couple years ago, and I had to go do some scholarly work to figure out what Grumio meant when he said he's 2 and 30 a pip out. And when he said he's 2 and I found out later on that he was talking about a dice game, but it was slang during the time of being drunk. 2 and 30 a pip out. Well, it meant he was drunk and the pip is the dot on a dice. So it's very much a contemporary language of the time. The Bible's got so many languages, so many translations, it really, that's why I always say when you read the Bible or any other ancient text, you should always put your love goggles on first and just take the loving parts that feel right. The fearful stuff is not of God, if God is love. the fearful stuff is of the mind of man trying to figure out God, in my opinion. So I hope that helps with that comment. Well, Roseanne, I'm so sorry that it happened. I'm sure you did not cause it. I have a very dear friend named Holly Matson, who, by the way, I'm going to be bringing back on in the next couple of weeks because Holly Matson and I will be doing a live event together in Columbus, Ohio, September 7th and 8th at the Body, Mind, and Spirit Expo. I will have a booth there, and I'll be saying hi to everyone. And I think Bright Love's coming to visit. And I'll be there signing the book Signs Along the Path, which is a book that Holly and I wrote together. So we'll be doing book signings, and I'll be speaking. I'll be doing a speech on Saturday the 7th. So if you come on Saturday the 7th, I'll be there. But we're going to have a booth with a couple of seats and a couple of benches, and you come by, say hi, and I'll be real happy to see you. But Holly is an animal Reiki practitioner, and she gets a lot of animal communications. And she says, the animals are not, you don't cause their death. They are conscious in that awareness too. The only real difference between us and them is we have a consciousness that deals in linear time, and theirs does not. They deal in being very present all the time. So, yeah, I'm sure you did not cause that at all, and Holly would tell you the same thing. So I hope that helps, Roseanne. Yeah. So Elaine, I love this. I love this. We are part of God. We are one with God. Jeshua says, "The Father and I are one, and you must become one with me as I'm with the Father." Life is eternal. I'm sure you're having those moments where the oneness of God is speaking to you through your grandmother to you, right? But I do believe it is coming from God through your grandmother to your higher self and down in, especially if you're dreaming it because you're in a different conscious state. So do I get messages from my mom? Sure I do. Usually it's just her snarking at me joking with me as I write something funny. I'll feel her presence. I sometimes feel Jeshua in moments. I have dreams where people who I know have come over. And interestingly enough, Roseanne, just so you know this, I have dreams of my dog coming to visit me, and it is viscerally real. And the dream is always the same. I go to someone's home, and my dog's there, and I'm like, "You're still alive?" I couldn't believe he was still alive in the dream. And he just comes over and hugs me, and I take him with me as when I leave. It really comes down to this idea that we feel separate and alone, but they're never gone. Your pets are never gone. Your family's never gone, and it's all part of oneness together. And I love that. Oh, I'm glad you liked that interview yesterday, Bright Love. I was actually a fun one. She did have great energy, and she's probably. I suggested that Kim Carey interview her because she takes orb photography all over the world, and so I think the two of them talking would be very, very, very interesting. I must say, Brian, I approve of the word gobbledygoo. Satan is the word. It's not Satan. Satan. Satan means accuser or temptation. It is a word that had nothing to do with some evil being or polar opposite of God. It had nothing to do with all that. I believe when you tell someone that they can be possessed, there are people who will say, "Yes, I'm possessed." I believe when you give a belief like that, you will see those sorts of beliefs play out. When you see those beliefs play out that are and then you believe that the only way to do that is through the love of God or through these Catholic rituals, you're giving them what they believe will work. You're supporting that faith. You're supporting that belief. there is no devil, there is no hell, and the when you dive into the actual history of the language and the words, you find out very quickly that the Satan and the demonic stuff and all that doesn't come about until the Middle Ages. When Dante wrote his Inferno, the churches grabbed that as a model. Prior to that, the Hebrew Bible, which is the Old Testament, and the Torah, there was no hell. There was a place called Sheol where the dead people went, but there wasn't any eternal punishment at all. The concept of eternal punishment came much later, and it came after the Greco-Roman period when they brought in Hades, and of course Gehenna, which was a valley outside of Jerusalem where a Jewish warlord had killed a bunch of children. Later, it became a place where they burned trash, and Gehenna was the word that they chose to become hell. And so it really is a construct of the Catholic Church over time. And so it's very, very powerful of a belief to give someone. And it's even more powerful to support that belief by being the only way they can be resolved of the problem. So that's really my thought on it, Brian. I hope that answers your question. Scott, yeah, I will. So let me tell you the story behind this. Most people don't know this. About 7 years ago, I used to make swords. As a fight director, you find out very quickly that swords are much cheaper to make than to buy. And so I got really good at making swords, which I found out later in Ancestry.com that my great-great-great-grandfather had the first contract with the first American Army to make all their swords, which I thought was rather interesting. I also, in tracing my lineage, found out that my great-great-grandfather, whose name was Benjamin Franklin Rose Jr., comes from the Rose line, which is a Tudor line, a Templar line that goes all the way back to Scotland, and I traced my lineage back to the 1600s in Scotland. So how did I heal my lungs? So here's the story. So I got contacted by Cirque du Soleil to make a whole bunch of pirate swords for a show in Mexico. And I was making all these aluminum pirate cutlasses. And one of them gnarly looking, so I was like acid etching and doing all kinds of stuff to make them look gnarly. And I just started not feeling well. And I went into the doctor, and the doctor told me that I had spots all through my lungs. And he says, we need to do a biopsy, but you need to drop some weight, Jhon, so we're going to put you on a 500-calorie restricted diet for 3 months. And then we're going to do a biopsy. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll do your diet, and I will lose the weight, because I really needed to lose the weight anyway. And but in 3 months, we're not going to do the biopsy. We're just going to do these tests again and make a decision about the biopsy at that point. He said, I don't think it's a good idea. I think we should be ready for it. I said, man, that's okay. So I went home. I stopped making the swords. And I said, thank you, God, for the perfect lungs I am receiving. I started walking every day and breathing deep, knowing full well that my lungs were in perfect health and receiving perfect health. And at the 3-month mark, I went back and there wasn't a single spot in my lungs. Your belief about your body is the truth. If you go to my page where I do private sessions and you scroll down to the bottom, there's a bunch of testimonials down there. There's a story in there of a woman who, using just simply belief, watched her tumors shrink. The physical body is just an illusion of belief, and you can change the belief about it. A lot of times we get conditions of the lungs not because of circumstances like that, but a lot of times it's because of our own fears and anxieties holding air in. When we don't use our lung to full capacity, the first thing that happens is the bottom of our lungs start to stick together. And it really comes down to breaking that open and being fully breathing deep again to really get healthy lungs. But the belief of I am receiving healthy lungs, it works if you believe it. People will tell me about manifestation or law of attraction, but it really is just the marketing of creation. And we create with belief. What we believe in about this moment will be what we experience in the next. And so I am joyfully receiving perfect lungs or perfect health means my belief is that is coming into my experience. And the next thing I will see is results of that belief. And the more that belief comes in, the more I believe it. And my faith grows in it, and it happens, and the healing itself becomes exponential. I hope that answers your question there, Scott. Exhale. There you go, bright love. You probably answered me from earlier. Yeah, Maria, I kind of answered this with the first question from the guy earlier. Yeah, I'm not sure how everything began, and but I do know that we are simply consciousness, and our experience is coming from consciousness as well. And Chitra, I love your response. That it's partnership with God that we evolved. Yeah, I think the question really comes is where did the consciousness begin? Oh, yeah, I'm getting to tell a cool story. So my frame flag back there, I get asked about my flame flag all for the flamed framed flag. Framed flag. Let me speak good. I did 6 USO tours, and from 2001 to 2006, we did over 150 performances on the front lines, and we dedicated about 2 months a year going over there during that time. And one day at the Maryland Renaissance Festival, I'm walking off stage, and these 2 full-dress Marines come up, and they're carrying 2 of them, one for me and one for my partner, my comedy partner. And they hand us these flags. He said, "We have carried these to you from our base in Qatar, which is the Middle East. It's where a lot of our drones fly out of, and it's one of the bases that we work all the time." He says, and then he hands us these flags, and well, thanks. Then he hands us a plaque. That flag and my partner's flag flew in unmanned missions over both Iraq and Afghanistan, and we have the actual mission codes that it came from. And those flags went suborbital into space in U-2 spy planes, and when they specifically put them in those vehicles so that they could have that experience, so that they could then hand deliver them to us in Annapolis, Maryland, from Qatar. And so I'm very proud. That is one of the true symbols of something I'm very proud of, is doing 6 USO tours and entertaining soldiers at their time of need. And so I display it proudly, and the plaque is somewhere over there somewhere. One of these days, when I'm living at the beach and I'm looking at the ocean outside my window, that will be on a wall with the plaque underneath of it, so that everybody can see what it is. But yeah, that's something I'm extremely, extremely proud of. Elena, I'm so glad that your mom is now surrounded by gardens. Yeah, cut ourselves some slack. I think that everyone needs to understand that you're in a world where we have fears and anxieties. We're in a world to experience our fears and anxieties, our separation from love. And the way that happens is through our sometimes reacting fearfully. The key really is to come back to a place where you're realizing that you can be an action hero, not a reaction hero. You can be loving instead of reacting in fear. And you can change that process, or as the Bible would say, bring the kingdom of heaven to earth. Bring love here and live it fully. I'm trying to catch up. I'm way behind you guys, I know. I'm sorry. When I start talking, you guys keep putting things in, and I got to fill it up. Beyond biblical belief, welcome back. Jumping down. Oh, cool. You guys are just chatting. So I'm just trying to make sure. Listen to it. Listen to Chitra. She's right. I know a lot of people who've had really great results from working with Holly with their animals. Amen. I love that because I think they communicate with us in the way in the personalities we know them from, and I think that's the way we would know it was them. I love that. Shaitan, one who turned away from God. And so there's another version. It's not necessarily the polar opposite of God. It's just one who turned away from the source or God or something else. So that's interesting. Well, thank you, Maria. I will say this. I truly like the analogy that we are scuba diving. Because we wake up in the morning, and the first thing we do is we wake up and we draw a bunch of air in. Then we go about our day, and we walk through our day. And about 16 hours later, we start to go, we start to let air out. And as we let air out, we lay down and we go into a different conscious state. I think we're going back up for air. We're going back up for love, and we're going to come back down into the physical. So I really think of the physical world as more scuba diving, which is why when you don't get enough sleep, you eventually will pass out and sleep because you need to go back up for that air of the other side. Um, I completely agree with you on this. We live in a completely Christian culture. Someone sneezes, you say, God bless you. You say that because in the Middle Ages, they believed when you sneezed, you open your soul to the devil. And the original quote was, may God bless you and the devil miss you. You drive down the road, you'll see the bumper sticker 316. You'll see the signs on the side of the road. You'll see the crosses. You'll see we live in a society that is inundated with imagery. You watch films, you will see things like Legend, where the devil arrives. There's the show Constantine, which is all about fighting the devils and the evil demons. We are surrounded by this consciousness all the time, but it's until we strip away those beliefs of those things that we will then not have that experience. I know so many people who have crossed over, and I have done so 3 times, and I'm very blessed to have been able to do so 3 times. When I cross over, I come to a pure white space, a pure love, and I'm experiencing this connection to everything around me and everyone around me. And I know a lot of other people with near-death experiences. They go through a very Christian experience, or sometimes a very Hindu experience, or sometimes a very Buddhist experience, or sometimes they don't because I've spent so long stripping away, I don't have the illusion of belief to go through. In the physical world, we still have our illusions of belief. An atheist will tell you they're not atheists, and then you'll sneeze and they'll say, God bless you. You'll see those things seeping in all the time. And so, those are the subconscious beliefs that are coming in. A lot of times you'll also find people who are atheists or agnostics who came from a Christian background or a Catholic background or Methodist or Presbyterian and or Baptist, and they have these underlying beliefs that they've never addressed. And the reason most of them have become atheist or agnostic is not because they changed their belief. Most of them are that way because they didn't like the other belief. It's more of a rebelling against the belief they were told to believe. And so it's until we clear that subconscious and come back to this place of saying that part of my life is over, or as the Bible would say, being born again, Start with a blank slate, or as the Bible would say, you must become as a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. It's all about going back to that clean slate and letting all the rest of those doctrines, dogmas, beliefs, be they old or new, coming back to just the purity of understanding that your connection as God is more so through feelings than methods, modalities, techniques, doctrines, or dogmas. And so it comes down to realizing that you directly connect. That's why I always say, God is found at the bottom of every breath. Because when you truly become fearless, you come back to that place. What did the Buddha say? The secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. Releasing your fear response brings you to a connection. When I do private sessions, I will often remind people, they'll laugh at something I say, and because I'm a funny guy, they'll laugh at something I'll say, and a lot of times I'll just catch them in that moment. I'll say, "Did you feel that? In that moment, you were completely present. You were completely fearless." A laugh is the truest connection to God. And when you come from that space and you start to acknowledge that feeling of being completely free and authentic, because that's what a full laugh is, free and authentic and fearless, you have literally touched the connection to source. When I sit down to sit in love, that's what I do. I exhale and I bring about that feeling of laughter and bring about that feeling. That's why the Buddha smiles. And for me, when I have been stripping away things for so long, the more I strip away, the clearer my mind gets, the clearer my connection seems to be. But this is my journey. And I don't expect anyone to take that journey. But I will say we do live in a culture that is so inundated with Christian imagery, Christian ideas, Christian thoughts. We can't do pretty much anything without somebody mentioning God in this country. And so it really comes down to, there's a subconscious belief out there. Most people are seeing demons because of their subconscious beliefs. I completely agree with that statement. Rainbows. I love rainbows, bright love. This is a wonderful question. People are doing that because they want to be right. They're told if that other side gets their way, fearful things are going to happen. People are marketing fear. They're peddling fear. They're using fear to force you to vote for them. I often say, if you're going to vote, then choose the one that's going to create the loving world, that you believe is going to create a loving world. And remember a couple things. Socrates said, when the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. The person who's calling names, the person who's not looking for creating something good for people in the world, is the person I'm not going to vote for. The person who is saying that my son's going to have the opportunity to do lots of things in the world and live a beautiful, loving life is one I'm going to vote for. But there are people who have been peddling fear so hard and so long that they're getting lost in fear. And once again, the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. But something I said the other day was, until you acknowledge you're writing your own story, you'll be a character in someone else's. During political seasons, you're a character in someone else's if you are getting angry at the other side for what they believe, for what they think, for what they're doing. Right? That's not love. That's fear. That's anxiety. That's stress. You are a character in somebody else's narrative, somebody else's dialogue. I don't believe in a lot of what the side that I'm not going to vote for says. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Whoever wins, wins. We're going to in that moment we're going to deal with it. I personally believe I think I know who's going to win, but I'm not going to do a prophecy because I don't do that kind of work. But because I see, for me, it's very clear who's talking love and who's talking fear. But people get lost and mired in their fears, and they get so angry because anger is a reaction from fear. And so that's why they're reacting so angrily, is because they're fearful. And I hope that answers your question there, Duran. Thank you, Raven Murray. I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Dr. Joe Dispenza has entered the chat. Really? He can come in whenever he wants. I'm a big fan of his work. Um, All right, Denise. You just awakened my sword geek. I was a fight director for many years. The final fight of Rob Roy is my favorite fight ever put on film. And there's a real reason why. And I'm going to get a little geeky on you, but excuse me. You have two very different styles of sword. You have a transitional rapier, which is on the verge of becoming a small sword, which is what the bad guy was using. And you have a basket-hilted broadsword, which is an entirely different style of fighting. And when you watch that fight, they are doing the exact style that their weapon would do, and they're using the techniques of that weapon correctly. And you could, when you watch that fight, it's like watching a cat toying with a mouse until the mouse becomes the Incredible Hulk. And there's a real clear storyline through it. I think it's beautifully choreographed fight, and I think is exceptionally well acted. One of my favorites, and specifically because of the historical nature of it. Probably my second favorite fight in film would be the Princess Bride fight between Inigo Montoya and Wesley. But thank you for letting me geek out for a second. Larry, I'm glad you liked the flag story. And I thank you all for liking the flag story. Quite honestly, I will have to go back and reread his quotes about Christ. I read the Maharaji's work a long time ago, and so I don't really have it on the tip of my mind. Sorry. Trevor, I completely respect your beliefs. I completely disagree with what you're saying here. He was a man. He was a man who found his divinity. He was a man who was showing us our divinity. He was showing us our way to come to our own divinity within ourselves. The concept of Hindu dharma and karma, I don't think comes into play with this man. I think it is much simpler. I respect your beliefs completely. But I completely disagree with the idea that he was crucified so that his spirit would spread throughout the world. I think he was very specific about getting his teachings to spread, which is why he sent the disciples to various parts of the world, but various parts of the region. But I don't think there was this big energetic thing that happened during the time of the crucifixion in that way. But like I said, I completely respect your beliefs. I could be wrong. You could be wrong. I'm going to follow my truth, and you're going to follow yours, and that's the way the world should be. And I appreciate you putting that on here. Thank you. No, well, quite honestly, Jhon is the greatest name in the world. I'm kidding. Oh, okay. Well, you're welcome. Most people don't realize I do try to do some sort of response to every comment, and I also, when someone wants to just argue, I very quickly I will start with just simply removing the comment, but if they try to continue it, I will just hide them from the channel, because I think if you can't be respectful, then you can't be on my channel, and so that's people get mad at me. Oh, you censored me. Well, you said something crappy. So that's my thought on that. But yeah, I'm glad you got a good response, Alex. I hope it was something that helped. Actually, I appreciate it. Hello, Siddharth Kohli, my friend. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Achoo. I'm zipping down to see what I can catch up. it is very interesting. People say, "Oh, I speak in tongues," and it's never a Buddhist or a Hindu or a Wiccan or a Baha'i or a Jainist or any other faith except for a certain branch of Christianity that does that, because they believe it. They believe that in that, and so they experience that. Ladies and gentlemen, she's just brought on YouTube gold here. She's just expressed to you something you all, if you have not seen this, you need to go search out the Honky Pete video on YouTube. You will laugh like you've never laughed before, and as you're laughing, recognize the oneness of God within you. That is such a funny, funny video. I forgot about it for the past few months. I'm going to have to go look at it tonight just to watch it again. Thank you for reminding me, Bright Love. Hi and boo. You scared me, Richard. Ooh. Hi and boo. That's funny. The Swamp of Fear. Pull that plug. It's good. Jumping down. I agree with this, and I have one more thing to say. Once you've made your choice and you know who you're going to vote for, turn off your television and stop arguing. Turn off your news and stop trying to convince anybody else. Just if you've made your choice, there's no need to perpetuate your own angst inside. I don't get into those arguments. I find interesting things. I am someone who, oddly enough, is fascinated by election cycles. So I love to watch how the polls shift and all that stuff. And I'm personally very happy with the way they're shifting right now. But yeah, so I agree. I agree with you. Use your intuition and think about it. Do you feel this person is angry, frustrated, or someone's proposing something loving? And that's all you really got to do. As I say, I'm a one-issue voter. My issue named is Kynan Joseph Davis, my son. I'm going to vote for the person who I hear say that they are creating a world that he's going to live in that'll be beautiful. And so that's my one issue I vote on. I know people who are one issue on gun rights. I know but that, choose your one issue, make your choice, and then stop watching the news. Thank you for excusing your language. Fear. It's just an emotional reaction in the present moment. And if you really break it down, fear is in the present moment is only that emotional reaction, but it's an emotional reaction to the past and to an expectation that something negative will happen in the future. The reality of it is it's not present at all. It's just a reaction in the present. And so all fear really is negatively focused uncertainty. And so take the uncertainty out of it and focus positively, and you'll change your entire experience. I do have an answer for you, Alexa. Love in any form is never wrong. We're here to experience love and its absence in many forms. So many times we would come into this world to live into a lifestyle that many people might be hateful of or harmful of, to experience, being authentic into our own self and growing into our own love and living into our own experience. I am very blessed in my life to be surrounded by, gay people and my entire life, because I grew up in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Then I went into theater, and I was surrounded by, and some of my greatest friends in life have been gay men and lesbian women, and it's I have a brother. His name is Shannon, but she's a woman that she identifies as male. The reality of it is that we come into the world to experience love through the illusion of its absence and overcoming that illusion. And so Why would you choose it? Because it's something you said, okay, I want to experience love in that way. And so that to me, yeah. And the thing is, let's jump over to your next comment here. You're being mad that God making you a girl, right? That's because of the God that you were taught about is the creator God who you had no choice in the creation at that moment. Why did God make me a girl? That's because of the religious dogma, which is why I keep saying let all that dogma go. Let your karma run over your dogma, because it really your struggle there is not with who you are really, it's what other people think of you and who you are, and that's what that's about, and what is that? That's the fear of not being loved in some form. Moving on. And Trevor, I wasn't in any way, shape, or form offended in any way, shape, or form. I love when people say something on here that gives me the opportunity to talk about it. So I thank you so much for bringing it out. And yeah, please don't think I was in any way, shape, or form offended, because I was not. Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice. If I succumbed to my fears, I never would have been in the movie with Brad Pitt. I never would have gone to the front lines of Iraq and Afghanistan. I never would have done my travel to Egypt and Peru, and I never would have done all the things in my life if I had not taken the time to just say, I am, and let my fears go, and just set the fears behind me. That's the important part. And yes, listen to Marcy, people. Marcy is good. Marcy is wise. Remember to hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Um, and all that good stuff. I have another interview coming out within the next week. I was told by Emilio Ortiz. He interviewed me about 6 weeks ago, and that interview is supposed to go live this week. Um, by the way, the discount for the private sessions that I offer to podcasts, the link is on the community page if you want to get in before the people start filling up the rest of my year. I'm currently booking January, so you know. Um, um, and I still haven't got the dates settled down for going to Austin and speaking at Alex's event yet, but it's coming as well. Uh, yeah. And this is a great piece of information. I will dive back into that work when I have the opportunity. But thank you for sharing that information, Chitra. Uh, oh, by the way, you know, if you're watching the channel and somebody is saying something harmful, don't succumb to their harmful stuff, even if they're saying it about me or anybody else. Don't try to knock them down. Try just simply give them love, give them respect, and I'll handle the rest. And because the way I handle it is I literally just say, "Bink," and push a button, and they're gone. But don't let somebody else ever mess up your inner being. The world is each one of us is living on our own personal hurricane, and the storm is going around us. And the way we calm that hurricane is by calming the eye where we are, being calm at the center, being calm at our core, and then the storm can dissipate. But when somebody else comes along and blah, 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 and makes our storm rage up, it's up to us to say, no, I am calm, and stay in that space. Someone got really mad at somebody the other day on the comment section, and I had to go in and clean that up as well. Um, this is a very mildly complex question. The subconscious mind is just habitual belief from our experiences of life. Uh, how do I reprogram the subconscious mind? You have to start paying attention to what you're believing about your present moment. And if you're taking your present moment and you're asking how, that means you believe it's not happening now. And instead of thinking that way, flip that script and say, I am receiving sweet dreams. You know? And you have to take that step of saying, I am the creator of my experience. And I am doing this. And exhale and come back to that space and just believe it's happening. And if you can't get there because it's too big of a task for you, start manifesting something smaller. Start creating something smaller that you can believe, so you can develop the belief in creation, that you can create it. But the subconscious mind is changed by repetitively negating thoughts that we don't like about our present moment and redirecting the thoughts we do, and doing that for a minimum of 21 to 60 days, because science says somewhere between 21 or 60 days of repetitive action creates habit. So you just have to keep going until it becomes not habitual. And when it becomes habitual, then it becomes really, really easy. Honky Pete has pockets. That's his Honky Pete's superpowers, pockets, actually, Bright Love. So, hey, Georgia, hey, welcome. Jumping down. Guys, it's coming to 9 o'clock, so I'm about to wind this thing down. And I want to make sure I say that before somebody reminds me it's 9 o'clock, because I have lovely people here in the world in here who like to take care of me. So I'm going to jump down towards the bottom and see if I can get some of the... I will say about this, Richie, I agree with you. I think I am the way, the truth, and the life. There's two ways that I would look at this. I am is the way, the truth, and the life. Or look what I've done. This is the way, this is the truth, this is the life. He's saying, I'm showing you what I've done, what you can do too. Take heart, I have overcome the world. He's literally telling us that you create your way, you create your truth, you create your life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. So that for me, and I love the way you're saying it too, because I think we're kind of saying the same thing. He's saying we all have that. And my mom, when she said spirituality is a personal journey, that is the way, the truth, and the life is living your personal journey and living into your own expression of love. Jumping down. Okay, I must have missed Siddharth's comment earlier, but if Bright Love says I'm going to say exhale, I'm going to say exhale. Take her advice. Jumping down. Thank you, Larry. Thank you. I love what I do for a living. Oh, you're welcome, Susan. You're welcome. Whenever I do a podcast, I like to offer their guests that discount, and I don't think it would be fair to offer someone else the discount and not offer you guys who are here, and the people on my channel who are coming in, the same discount. So, yeah, just wanted to make sure. I appreciate you. Thank you for that. 2 minutes. My Chitra's on it. I'm past the 2-minute mark. So anyway, guys, I am going to sign out. I can't take any more questions tonight. My friends, it's been a lovely time with you this evening. I hope you like the new setup. I kind of like this much better, actually. And the camera, I think, gives me a much better image. So I'm pretty happy with that. You guys have a great weekend. I'm going to have a great weekend with my boy. Next week, he heads back to college. So I am very excited about the beginning of these next 2 years, because after those 2 years, my feet are in the sand. Anyway, you guys have a great night, my friend. Thank you, Marcy and Bright Love, for handling the chat administration down there. I appreciate you both. Love you all, but I love them just a little bit more. I'm kidding. You guys have a great night, and I will talk to you in a couple weeks on the live stream. See ya. Bye. Thank you for joining us at the Live Loving live stream. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and visit us at jhonofnew.com.